The UK housing market is broken. And once you understand how much it costs to build a house in the UK, it makes even less sense. I mean, in many parts of the UK, particularly up north, it costs more to build a house than it would to just buy a house. As in, the actual materials, the bricks, the cement to build the house is worth more than the cost of an existing house. I've been in property full-time for 18 years. That's over half my life. I've worked on large-scale developments both in the UK and overseas. I've built multiple new build homes in the UK myself, and every single month I'm investing into UK property through my investment fund. And in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how much it costs to build a house from scratch in the UK, why the housing market is so distorted today, and the smart strategies that I have used and continue to use to profit from all of this chaos, and how you can too. Firstly, what is a housing crisis? Well, right now there's a massive shortage of houses, and we frankly cannot keep up with the needs of the growing population in Great Britain. Research commissioned by the National Housing Federation and an organisation called Crisis have stated that we need to build 340,000 new homes in Britain just in order to keep up with the demand, and also to address the accumulated backlog of housing need that we have. But actually, we're not building anywhere near that. I mean, from 2023 through 2024, we built 221,000 new homes, which means there was a massive shortfall of around 119,000. So the problem is getting worse and worse and worse year on end. But why can't we do this? I mean, there's enough developers wanting to build. There's certainly a lot of land, residential land, that we could build on. So what's the problem here? Getting planning permission in the UK for a perfectly good site when there's a massive shortage of housing is an absolute nightmare. And I'm speaking from personal experience. Do you know how much land I've got in Buckinghamshire, Aylesbury, across the Midlands, Birmingham, Kidderminster? I've got so much land that is sat there and I'm wanting to build. And for years, I've been jumping through hoops, putting forward planning application after planning application, having amendments. They'll take months to even respond. It is an absolute shambles. It is a joke. And when Labour said that they were going to reform the planning applications and reform the whole planning, have they? No. From my experience, it's worse than ever. I run and work alongside thousands of investors and developers, and everybody's having the same problem. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what's going on. Is it that people that work for the council just don't want to give planning? Is it that they're understaffed? Are they just anal? I don't know what the problem is, but it is a joke. With AI being so fantastic, you'd think that they'd just be able to streamline the process. You'd think you'd have to just go to an office, sit down with all the people that are important and make the decisions from the council and just go, here's my proposal, what do you think? And thrash out and have a conversation. But instead, you'll put forward an application, they'll spend 3 months and then come back and say, oh, we don't like it. They don't tell you why exactly, they don't tell you how to amend it. This can go on for years and years, and frankly, it is a shambles, it is a joke. So that's one of the reasons the government talking about how we need more houses, we need more houses. How's about you just get a little bit more efficient with your planning department? The second reason is cost of materials. As I said before, cost of materials are so ridiculously high, it doesn't make sense to build. I've got sites where I've bought a site, I've put in a planning application, but because planning took me 3 years, by the time I got planning, the deal doesn't stack up anymore. So what, do the councils and the government just expect me to work for free? They just expect me to bust my ass building a block of 50 apartments and make $1,000. I may as well just package and sell a deal. I could do that in a day and make $3,000. Like, what are they messing around at? So cost of materials are through the roof, but the third reason why houses are not being built is because the workers just aren't there. Do you know how difficult it is to get builders? Forget developments now from the ground up. If you've just got a refurbishment, buying a house and you need a refurb, do you know how difficult it is to get builders? The workers are so few. I don't know what's going on. Are they not training kids anymore? Because when I started in property, this was easy. I could just get a builder, pay them well, they do their thing. Now I'll ring up a builder. Sorry, booked up for the next 3.5 years. It's impossible. And we're bringing in enough people, aren't we? We're bringing in all these immigrants and asylum seekers, but the asylum seekers aren't allowed to work, are they? How's about Home Office just allow all the asylum seekers, let them come and work for me. Voluntary. I'll build a bunch of houses and give me planning permission to actually build. So the system is a complete and utter shambles. It's making the job of developers a nightmare. If I finally do get planning permission on one of my sites, I'll just sell it with planning and profit from the planning because I can't be bothered to build. Finding builders, messing around, waiting years, cost of materials. It's very, very difficult. So how much does it cost to build a house? This is my experience. This is also on Housing Forum. You're talking about £250,000 to build an average 3-bed semi-detached house. 250 grand. Might be slightly less, but then when you start including the actual bathrooms and kitchens and kitting it out, £250,000. And I built many houses. And I've also walked away from building houses because the builders have given me the quote and I just thought, this don't make sense. 5 years ago, I built 6 houses. In total, it cost me about £85,000 per house. Now, admittedly, they were small houses. They were terraced houses, 85 grand. If I built those same houses today, 2-bed terraced, it would be at least double that. And if you want to see a full breakdown, by the way, of all the costs exactly, and I don't want to give a geeky breakdown on this video, I'll leave a link in the description where you can get a download and you can get a list of all the breakdown of exactly how much it costs. Let me tell you an interesting story. There's a guy who's a small-time property developer who bought a piece of land for £350,000 just outside of Doncaster. He got planning permission to build 12 houses, and then he came to me and he said, Samuel, I've got planning permission to build 12 houses. I've got this land just outside Doncaster. I bought it for $350,000. I don't have the money to build the houses though. I wish I did, but I don't. He said, do you want to buy the land from me and you can take over from here? I bought it for $350,000, but you know what? You can have it for what I paid for it. I just want to get my money back. So I looked at this land, $350,000, but here's the thing. If it costs 250 grand to build a house, how much is the average house in Doncaster? It's about 160 grand. Now you might add 10%. We'll be generous. Add 20% because it's new and it's shiny. We're talking about 200 grand per house, but it costs 250 grand. Now let's say I got really good builders and they say, you know what? We can get the build cost down to 200 grand. That means even if I could get the build cost down to 200 grand, and even if the end value of the houses in Doncaster is 200 grand, that means that even if he gave me the land as a gift with planning permission for 12 houses, I wouldn't take it because I'd make no money. He could give me the land. Here you go, here's the land with planning permission, ready to build. And now I build 12 houses. It costs me 200 grand each, but the gross development value of the entire site is now 2.4 million. So I just spent a year and a half overseeing all these builders, getting all these houses built to make zero money. If he said to me, I bought it for $350,000, but I'll let you have the land for free. In fact, I'll give you $350,000. I'll pay you to have the land on the condition that you then have to build and sell. I'd say no. That's how worthless the land is. Why is it so unwanted? Because it costs so much to build. Doesn't make any sense. Now you might say, well, this is terrible because I want to make money in property in the UK and I'm a builder and I've got a property investment company, and is it a bad time to get in? No, it's a fantastic time to get in for many reasons. Let me talk about what I'm doing and also what my students are doing, the deals that I'm investing in, that I'm buying, that I'm partnering with people on. This is what we use. So let me talk about something called zombie homes. A zombie home is a house that is empty and it's been empty for at least 2 years. Run down, derelict, empty. Now, the owners of these homes, they often live overseas. They bought the property with a plan to refurbish it, but never did. They might have lived it. Who cares? It's a zombie home. It's derelict. It's abandoned. It's been empty for 2 years or more. Now, these houses, with the current rules that the government have in place, the owners are getting clobbered with council tax. You have to pay 300% council tax on these homes. So they've got these empty homes that aren't rented out, aren't rentable, where they're getting absolutely penalised and clobbered with council tax. No one wants to buy them because you can't get mortgages on them. First-time buyers can't buy them. 95% of people that buy properties in the UK buy with a mortgage. So these houses are just, they're an absolute pain, these zombie homes for the sellers. However, from your perspective, what does that mean? Well, that means that you can buy them at a discount and you can refurbish them. And refurbishing a house is a lot cheaper than building it from scratch because you've already got all the bricks. There's no fighting the council for planning permission. You just buy it and give it a facelift. Kitchen, bathroom, plastering. It might cost 20, 30 grand. Let me give you an example. One of my students, Noah Briley, bought a 1-bedroom flat in Notting Hill. Now, he bought it in his personal name for £320,000. He got very, very low stamp duty rates because he bought it. He's a first-time buyer. He's refurbishing it. The refurb is almost complete now. And the total cost to refurbish it is £70,000. This is a 1-bedroom ground floor flat, but he's turned it into a 2-bed and it's really nice high-end now. Refurb is basically finished. It's just getting some snagging. However, he just had it valued last week and it got valued at 525 grand. That means that he's made over £100,000 profit. Oh, and because it's his home residence, he could refinance it if he wanted, or he could sell it and he'd make over 100 grand tax-free cash from his little zombie home that he bought in London. One of the reasons that building companies, the fees come in, they're so high, is the VAT. But if it's a zombie home, a lot of the refurb, you are exempt from the higher rate threshold of VAT, meaning that your VAT bill can just be as low as 5% for the majority of the refurb, depending on what he's doing. Obviously speak to a professional about this, but again, meaning your refurb is cheaper. He spent 70 grand. Now it's worth 525. Now, you might be thinking, but Samuel, where did he get the money from in the first place? How are you going to buy something cash for 320 grand? Well, here's the thing. You don't have to do this in London. You can do this up north. You know these houses like Doncaster, where I'm saying the average house in Doncaster is about 160 grand. How much is a zombie house in Doncaster? How much is a little rundown 2-bed terrace house in Doncaster that's rundown, derelict? You can buy them for about 60 grand. And guess what? You don't have to use your own money. You can buy them with a bridging loan. You won't get a mortgage, but you can get a bridge. Meaning you only need to put down a deposit of maybe 20-30% of 60 grand. What's that? About 15 grand? What's your stamp duty going to be? Potentially nothing. If it's a derelict property, 0 stamp. If you're a first-time buyer, it will be 0 stamp. So it doesn't cost that much to buy and to refurb. You can do a refurb on a rundown 2-bed derelict house in Doncaster for about 20 grand. So you buy it for 60, you spend 20 on it. Now it's worth what? 130, 140? And then you refinance it and get all your money back, pay the bridging company back, and you're left with a free house. Now you might say, but Samuel, I'm left with a free house, but it's only a little cheap house up north. I'm not going to make a fortune from it. Well, firstly, you could rent it out to contractors, a serviced accommodation on Airbnb. But secondly, your mortgage payments aren't going to be much, are they? Interest rates have dropped a bit now. Base rate is back in the 3s. So your mortgage payments on a house that's worth 120 are only going to be a few hundred quid a month. The rent might be 6, 7. So yes, you're not going to get rich from the cash flow from that property. It's going to get you on the ladder, but here's the cool thing. If it costs, just think now, if it costs 250 grand to build a basic house in England, if they are building houses, new build estates across the country, what does that mean? That means that these house prices are going to catch up the cost of materials before too long, and we are going to see rising prices and inflation. We're going to see that, in my opinion, a lot with some of these cheaper houses. So not only are you getting a bit of cash flow, not only are you getting on the ladder, not only are you refinancing it in all your money back, but also you've got an asset that is appreciating in value. And as soon as it goes up by 30-40%, which could just be a couple years, what are you going to do? Refinance it again and borrow against the equity and buy more assets. And this is just to the buy, borrow, die strategy. I've done a whole separate video called Buy, Borrow, Die, which breaks down the strategy of how the rich use inflation. The poor people get poor because of inflation. Rich people get rich because of it. So this is some of the things that you can do as a small property developer in Great Britain right now. Now, part of my life mission is to be rich. I love being rich. I love buying houses, building houses, being a good landlord. I love that. But I also care about impact. I also care about changing the government policies, reforming the planning. I wish I could do that. I'm not Prime Minister. But the impacts that I can have and I can control is helping people get wealthy through property in Great Britain. And I have trained thousands and thousands of people become financially free as a result of my training. If you want to train with someone like me, it's thousands of pounds. However, I'm excited to say I am going to be running a webinar, a free online training session where I'm going to be breaking down how to get started from zero and to grow a successful, profitable property business. And it's completely free. So if you want to join me on that webinar, I'll leave a link in the description. And I tell you something, it's going to absolutely blow your mind. You're going to love it. And you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain because there's a lot of opportunities right now. The media are just not talking about it. So I'll see you on the free training. Click the link. I can't wait to see you there.